Today, we're going to attempt to answer the question, who is the prophet like Moses? By the end of this video, you'll learn some unique parallels between Moses and a candidate for the prophet like Moses. Let's begin in Deuteronomy 18, verses 9 to 14, where we see that God warns the Israelites that they must not imitate the detestable customs of the pagan nations who are being expelled from the land for their wickedness. Then in verse 15, we read the following: "The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me from among your own brothers. You must listen to him. This is what you requested from the Lord your God at Horeb on the day of the assembly when you said, 'Let us not continue to hear the voice of the Lord our God or see his great fire any longer, so that we will not die.' Then the Lord said to me, 'They have spoken well. I will raise up a prophet for them from among their brothers. I will put my words in his mouth, and he will tell them everything I command him. I will hold accountable whoever does not listen to my words that he speaks in my name.'" God promises to raise up a prophet like Moses. But what does that mean? Wasn't Moses like all the other prophets who followed him? Not really. As we read in Numbers 12:8, God spoke with Moses directly, openly, or as the ESV puts it, mouth to mouth, which basically means face to face. This was completely different than how God communicated with other prophets. Deuteronomy 18 also tells us that this future prophet like Moses will be from Moses' brothers, the Jewish people. Finally, we're told to listen to this prophet like Moses, who would be Jewish and who would speak with God face to face, because the prophet will declare the words of God. As we begin looking at unique aspects of Moses' life, we'll see there are certain parallels between the life of Moses and the life of the Messiah as described in the New Testament. Our first parallel, someone tried to kill them as they were children. Exodus 1:22 says, "Pharaoh then commanded his people, 'You must throw every son born to the Hebrews into the Nile, but let every daughter live.' As the Messiah was born, as recorded in Matthew 2, verse 16, Herod gave orders to massacre all the boys in and around Bethlehem who were under 2 years old." Our second parallel is that both Moses and Messiah had to flee their native land because of persecution. Moses murdered an Egyptian for beating a fellow Hebrew, and when Pharaoh heard about it, he tried to kill him. But Moses, we read in Exodus 2:15, fled from Pharaoh and went to live in the land of Midian. Similarly, Joseph, the Messiah's dad, was told by an angel to take the child and his mother and flee to Egypt and stay there, for Herod was about to search for the child and kill him. So Joseph got up, took the child and his mother during the night, and escaped to Egypt. This brings us to our third parallel, which is a time of fasting before delivering the word of God. In Exodus 34:28, we read that Moses was on top of Mount Sinai with the Lord for 40 days and 40 nights, where he did not drink food or water. There he wrote the 10 Commandments, the words of the covenant on stone tablets. Likewise, Messiah fasted 40 days and 40 nights, and only after that time did he begin to preach about the kingdom of heaven. Our fourth parallel is that both Moses and Messiah had mountaintop experiences. In Exodus 19:20, we read that the Lord came down on Mount Sinai at the top of the mountain. Then the Lord summoned Moses to the top of the mountain, and Moses went up. For the Messiah, we see that he actually delivered God's words, the Beatitudes, from a mountain. We've now reached our fifth parallel, which is that the authority of both Moses and Messiah were questioned by their own people. In Exodus 2:14, an Israelite man says to Moses, "Who made you a commander and judge over us? Are you planning to kill me as you killed the Egyptian?" The Messiah's God-given authority over his people was also questioned. Matthew 13:54-57 reports how the people of Jesus' hometown, Nazareth, rejected him. The religious leaders also challenged Jesus by asking what authority he had to do these things and who gave him his authority. Our sixth parallel is this: both the face of Moses and Messiah shone with God's glory. For Moses, this experience is recorded in Exodus 34. As Moses descended from Mount Sinai with the 2 tablets of the testimony in his hands, he didn't realize that the skin of his face shone as a result of his speaking with the Lord. In Matthew 17, after 6 days, Jesus took Peter, James, and his brother John and led them up a high mountain. There, Jesus was transfigured in front of them, and his face shone like the sun. His clothes became as white as the light. What's interesting about this parallel is that Jesus and Moses are both seen speaking to one another in the Mount of Transfiguration event. Our seventh and final parallel between Moses and Messiah is that both, through the power of God, exercised control over water. For Moses, we're familiar with the story of the Red Sea, where it says that Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and with a powerful east wind all day, the waters were divided, and the Israelites walked through on dry land. What a magnificent display of God's power! The Messiah also exercised great power over the waters, except instead of the Red Sea, it was over the Sea of Galilee. We read about that in Matthew 14, where Jesus is seen walking on the water, and then he enables Peter to walk out and meet him on the water. Verse 32 tells us that when the Messiah and Peter returned to the boat, the wind ceased, and then those in the boat worshiped him and said, "Truly, you are the Son of God." At the end of Deuteronomy, shortly after writing about the death of Moses and the appointment of Joshua as his successor, the author gives us an important clue. Deuteronomy 34, 10-12 says this, "No prophet has arisen again in Israel like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face. He was unparalleled for all the signs and wonders the Lord sent him to do against the land of Egypt, to Pharaoh and to all his officials, and to all his land, and for all the mighty acts of power and terrifying deeds that Moses performed in the sight of all Israel." Looking for a prophet like Moses, whom God promised to raise up, was apparently a big deal. Could it be that a Jewish author, writing around AD 60, was correct when he identified Jesus as this prophet like Moses with these words, "God raised up his servant and sent him first to you to bless you by turning each of you from your evil ways"? My question for us today is, have you found the prophet like Moses? If you haven't, would you consider searching for him?